Hello everyone, I was at the Cannes Film Festival again with a 3 days in Cannes program, although I guess I stayed for 4 days. Anyways, it was a pretty intense time I guess, but I saw like 10, 11 movies and there were some great ones in here, and today I want to talk about two really great ones, which I saw pretty quickly during the festival. The first one being Sentimental Value, the new film by Joachim Trier, who also made The Worst Person in the World, which is a pretty good film, but for me it was a bit overrated. Don't get me wrong, I really liked the film, and I'll probably like it more on a rewatch, but I felt it was a little bit lacking in a strong sense of character for its main character, intentional or not. For me it also ran a bit out of steam as it continued, and embraced tropier story elements that I wasn't a huge fan of. That being said, it was a charming and well-shot film, and this new one continues to be charming and well-shot, while in my view also being a lot more emotional. In some ways, this is a bit of an Oscar bait family drama, but it is told with a lot of patience and subtlety. The story is a family drama ensemble piece, in which every actor is fantastic, with Renate Reinsve playing a character I really felt a lot for. Through a unique vignette editing style, each of the characters is sensitively built up, and it leads to a bigger picture of generational trauma that genuinely hits in a way I don't really want to reveal. On top of that, I also really liked the cinematography, with at points having a Tarkovsky inspiration behind it that was really satisfying, though the film as a whole reminds me more of late Bergman films, but also a lot of some Woody Allen films that I love, and Noah Baumbach films like Marriage Story. I love how this is a film that doesn't insist on you feeling its emotional moments with a big emotional score, but instead lets its emotions play out on its own pace. It's completely okay with letting you soak it all in later, resulting in me only starting to tear up during the credits and for some time after the film even, as every little emotional detail finally came together for me in a really powerful way before I could even realize or process it. There is still emotional music used in this film, but every time it is used, it feels appropriate, and its quick vignette editing style results in these musical moments feeling like sweet little codas at the end of a chapter. All in all, this was a great and very moving film that I'm remembering more the more I'm speaking about it right now, because it unfortunately got a bit overshadowed by the many other films I saw later in the festival. Nonetheless, this is a really good movie, great movie even. I would love to see this a second time, and I will see this a second time, and it's likely that I would more confidently give this movie a higher rating on a rewatch. Right now, I am hovering between an 8 and maybe a 9 for it. Also want to give a quick shout out to the performances by Inga Ipsdotter Lilleas, I think that's her name, who plays Renate Reinsve's sister in this film, or her character's sister in this film. And I also want to shout out Stellan Skarsgård, who did a really good job. But really, these two sister characters were pretty incredible. They're on the poster as well, and the editing in that scene and the shot composition in that scene is pretty amazing. All around great movie, 8 out of 10. I guess this is so arbitrary, whatever, maybe a 9, fuck. Also, before I forget, if you really like Drive My Car, this is a film you will probably love as well, as this has many similar themes about processing trauma and grief or depression or whatever through art. It was pretty strong. Next I saw Sound of Falling, a film I was really anticipating. This is another film about generational trauma, but whereas Sentimental Value, while really precise with its moments where it decided to be linear or non-linear, this film is almost entirely non-linear and all over the place, but it's actually really tight and really well done. I would say this is like a movie version of the painting The Scream. It's a movie that twists and contorts with this constant sense of hypnotic, visceral anguish. It's only the second film by German director Masha Schilinski, and while so much of it feels reminiscent of both Terrence Malick and Jonathan Glazer, it still stands out as one of the most uniquely powerful films I've maybe ever seen. It's not like this film is exactly a perfect masterpiece, but it has an incredible force to it and an incredibly unique style of editing and unnerving vibes that I was just locked into from start to finish, even when it meandered or stagnated or had some less imaginative visuals than others at points. I don't know what I'm saying. In many ways, this is a miserable and haunting film, telling the stories of 4 generations of women and girls at the same farmhouse in Altmark in Germany. All these stories being spliced together throughout their whole runtime in a way somewhat reminiscent of Dunkirk. It's an incredibly dark film about history, the internal suffering of women, and death, but not so much death in the literal sense, though that's here too, but the thinking of death, the obsession with death as a possible escape, or maybe something even more transcendent than that, a way of connecting to a more primal or hidden self. The more this movie patiently peeled back its layers of tragedy and anguish, the more devastated I became, and the more I had to hold back tears. Though in that sense, my one complaint with the film would be that it kinda peaks with us halfway through and doesn't really get to that level again. But nonetheless, I'm impressed that it felt empathetic and not like misery porn. I found this movie's inner monologues very resonant, and on top of that, the cinematography was very cool and had a very unique free flow look to it, often experimenting with different lenses, POV shots, expired film, visual noise, and the list goes on. It has a very imprecise look to it, but it all just fits so well with the disorienting, dizzying, and dreamlike nature of it all. Much like Malick's films or Tarkovsky's Mirror, this is a film you gotta feel more in some ways rather than understand it immediately. But what I love here is that every seemingly random thing ultimately fully comes together in immensely purposeful and emotional ways, building on themes of both oppression and repression. I loved the stories, I loved most of the characters, even though they were somewhat loosely defined at times, but the power here for me comes from relating to these characters' feelings, feeling the atmosphere, similarly to how I felt the atmosphere in Sentimental Value, I guess, and having this atmosphere resemble my own hazy, melancholy moments of dissatisfaction with life. I guess I'll leave it at that. It's a depressing film, but it speaks with a real truthfulness and also a deep understanding of these women's inner lives, as well as an incredibly deep exploration of the interiority of childhood. On that note, all the children in this film did a fantastic job acting, and it only adds to this film having one of the best depictions of childhood melancholy and introspection I've ever seen. I found it profound, albeit maybe 30 minutes too long. It gave me a headache, but it's really great, and it gave me a sense of catharsis in the way it made me reflect back on my childhood and gave me a new perspective on it. I am giving this one an 8 out of 10 too, I guess, but it really sounds like I should give this a 9. Maybe I'll give this a 9. I don't know, my mom's pressuring me on this too. Either way, you know, I would highly recommend this. If this sounds interesting to you, and if you're interested in a more meditative approach to filmmaking. I'll be posting more reviews for the films I saw at the festival. Expect one for Eddington soon, as well as the amazing Palme d'Or winner and other prize winners. Have a good day. Bye bye.